After walking away from corporate burnout, our next guest became an elite fitness competitor, tragically lost her brother, fought through an eating disorder, and eventually built a national wellness company from the ground up. In this episode of Legacy Unscripted, I sit down with Lindsay Johnson, founder and CEO of FitPros, to talk about what it ultimately takes to rebuild your life and your business when everything feels like it's falling apart. We dig into the solo backpacking trip through Asia that sparked her business plan, how grief reshaped her definition of purpose, and what it means to build a company that grows with you rather than in spite of you. From a garage-sized startup to global SaaS platform, Lindsay's story is one of clarity, resilience, and ruthless self-awareness. If you've ever felt like you were off track, just personally or maybe professionally, consider this your wake-up call. Welcome to Legacy Unscripted, sponsored by Progeny Coaching. This is the podcast where sports and business collide. I'm your host, Russ Katzman, and here we skip the fluff and get straight to the hustle. From athletes turned entrepreneurs to impact-driven business leaders, we'll dive into the wins, the lessons, and some of those failures that make our legacies worth living. Today, I'm happy to welcome Lindsay Johnson, founder and CEO of FitPros. Lindsay, thanks for agreeing to share your story with us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Russ.
It's a pleasure. So, one of the things I picked up during our introductory call is that you're a former fitness competitor yourself. Talk to us about that transition of athlete to entrepreneur. What made you decide to become an entrepreneur at all?
Yeah. I think it's important to kind of back up to what got me into the fitness competing too, is I worked in the corporate world for over a decade before deciding to become a fitness competitor and deciding to leave my corporate job and really do a complete 180 life pivot. And so, it was a wild ride of the corporate world and seeing how, I was miserable. I was overweight. I was unhealthy. I was drinking too much. We can dive
Yep.
deeper into that stuff. But when I was in a meditation, I woke up and I said, I'm done with that. So I became a personal trainer and a health coach, and I started really coaching women primarily one-on-one, and just feeling that passion, that desire, that need to change and grow. And so that's really what got me into competing, was seeing the watching my clients, being a personal trainer, working with them, and seeing
Yeah.
their lives grow in such a way of they built a new, their butt got a little tighter. So, I was like, oh, good for
Yeah.
you. And so I got more curious about the science behind what foods I would eat that would change my body in a certain way. And so the science behind what food does to our body mentally and physically really got me into fitness competing. And then what drove the business change, a number of things. I don't know how deep you want me to go yet. Uh,
Feel
you
free.
know? Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
This is what gets people to keep listening to us. So throw that stuff out on there that
uh,
they're going to just be like, you know what? This is good stuff. I got to keep listening.
gotta keep listening. So, so I was personal training and training for competitions and competing for about 2 years, and then my brother passed away from a car accident.
Mm.
So that was June of 2015, and when that happened, June of 2015, June 28th was my last competition. 5 days later, he died in a car accident, and so it
Oh,
was one of those that have competed know that you're in such a mind twist of just like, I don't want to use the word selfish, but I wasn't very into worrying about what I was eating and what I was doing and how. And so when the family situation happened, nothing else mattered. And so
yeah.
I went into this just downward spiral. Of course, got on a plane, went back to the Michigan to be with my family. And for about 2 months, an eating disorder that had remained dormant for maybe 10 years came back,
Sure.
because I wasn't able to come back to a flat line of learning how to eat not just on my macros. so,
Sure.
um, so for 2 months, I went in this spiral, and finally, after that time, I said, okay, something's got to change. I dug into my toolbox. I mentally said, I know that there's I know that there's better. I know that I can do better. I can still be here for my family, and I can still take care of myself. And so I had to really step back from everything else that was happening. So skipping ahead, I decided that what was best for me was to go on a solo backpacking trip through Asia. And
That
after
had to be something.
it was something, oh my goodness. So now we're skipping ahead. Corey died on July 2nd, 2015. I was in Asia in October of that year. So I did that for almost 3 months, and that's where I wrote my business. I started my business plan in Malaysia.
What were you? No, you didn't go there though with the thought that I'm going to go to Asia, backpack through the hills, and figure out a business plan. So, what was your intent? Was it to escape? Was it just to go be by yourself and reconnect to yourself again? I mean, what was the original intent of going to Asia?
um, to experience and explore. And I, when I decided to leave the corporate world, and became a trainer, I actually went to India back then, and I had a snapshot of what it was to find that peace when you're by yourself,
Yeah.
disconnected from social media, disconnected from all the drama all around you. It's very difficult when you're traveling internationally to stay as connected as you are
Yep.
in the United States. And so it was just, yeah, the freedom. I needed the freedom from all of my normal go to, I would wake up at 4 a.m. I would go to the gym. I would train someone. I would, da, 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 da. And so I needed that complete just shift of recentering, refocusing, and I needed a place to think about my brother. I needed a place to
Yeah.
store those memories in a place. I needed to, because I blamed myself for being so selfish and not spending enough time with him over the past couple of years, because I was training and I was thinking about my clients and less about my family. And so
Yeah.
I had so much grief and resentment in myself for not being there for my brother as much. And so I needed a place to soothe.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, and I think there's a couple important factors in that, right? So as you're talking about the tragedy that I'm sorry to hear that you had to go through that, but the tragedy that you've gone through, what that does to us at any point, without getting too psychological in it all, everybody remembers the Maslow's hierarchy of needs and where we go from survival to self-actualization and all this kind of stuff. Well, as we go through life, as we start to find success, we start to feel ourselves most often move up that.
Yes.
And then it takes a tragedy, and we'll talk about the COVID impacts on you here in a second. But COVID was one of those that took everybody from wherever they were up here on the triangle to boom, survival. Nothing
Mhm.
else mattered. Not even even going to the grocery store, it was masks and everything else. Just do what you have to do to survive, get the food, come home and be part of the family. And tragedies sometimes can take us from wherever we are in that pyramid back to survival or barely above survival, where nothing else matters. I want survival and community with my family, and that's the most important thing. The tough part is then letting those things back into your life. At what stage do you start to do that? And it sounds like you took a pause to reassess, which I think is a terrific idea. A pause to reassess and say, which of those things do I let back into my life? I had all these things. Looking at them from the outside after I've been, for a couple months. Yes, we need to let some of the healthy habits back in,
Mhm.
but not some of those that took it beyond healthy to destructive.
Yes.
Uh, that the 3 months that you took, and you said 3 months, correct?
Close to, yeah.
The 3 months that you took, the thing that does is it gives you enough time to get away from that. And the first, if you had taken a week, for instance, by the time you get over there, you get a couple days, come back, nothing's really resolved.
Yep.
Uh, 3 months is kind of on the other extreme. It's taking yourself beyond. Okay, I've done my thinking to. Man, I could almost stay, live here, enjoy this lifestyle. What brought you back after a few months? Because you could
Mhm.
easily get lost in that.
Totally. I think I had the opportunity to volunteer at a safari park in Thailand.
Okay,
So opposite. I'm not really an animals person. Like, I've got a couple of cats that my
that's
husband loves.
blasphemy.
Yeah. Yeah. So I did something completely opposite of what I would normally do. I was shoveling things that, and so I think being in such a different place and being of service
Yeah.
was the awakening that I needed. And it reminded me that I want to help other people. I want to be able to help as many people as I can. I loved the one-to-one coaching. I love the one-to-one training people and seeing that magic happen. But
Hmm.
I felt a need in my heart and my soul to scale it. So that's really where the business part of it came from. Is I loved what I was doing right before this trip. I loved the connection and how I helped make people feel better about themselves, but how do I
Yeah.
scale that? And so that's really where the business plan started coming into fold. I remembered being in corporate marketing for over a decade, unhappy, overweight, drinking too much, and I thought, how can I help more of those people who spend so much time at work? How can I help them find health and well-being? And so
Yeah.
that's really what drove the transition of scaling and bringing FitPros to life. And that's what brought me home.
Well, and I love that, and we'll get into Fit Pros in a bit because obviously then you were in it for a handful of years, and then we did get into COVID. But talk to me about the light bulb moment, right?
Yeah.
And I love these moments because, and I've had it myself, right, where I'm out writing strategy. I remember one specifically back in Tampa where I was writing on the board, writing out a strategy, and this one came together with that one, came together with that one, and all of a sudden it's like, holy shit! And I literally sat down in the chair. I'm like, holy shit!
Yeah.
There it is.
There it is.
This goes with that, and those light bulb moments about the future, about our strategy, about the trajectory that we wanted to go. What was that for you?
Hmm. I remember distinctly having three different moments on this Asia trip.
Okay,
All were surrounded by water. I resonate
that's
with
interesting.
waterfalls. Yeah. And I have a journal that thankfully I wrote in almost every day of this trip too. And pictures of certain experiences. So I would say leaving those, experiences of swimming. Oh my gosh, I'm like having this very clear memory right now. Swimming through one of these like channels in Thailand, and those little fish that nip at your feet were kind of like
Yeah,
chasing me over to this waterfall. I sat under a waterfall and I meditated. It was just me and the water and like everything I felt in my being. And so, yeah, it's hard to put into words other than just describing those little experiences that added up to going back to my hostel and writing in Malaysia.
yeah,
I was there for 3 days. I hardly left the hostel because I was so like excited about writing the plan at that part of my trip. And it was right then too that I reached out to a friend I worked with. She's a graphic designer at one of my marketing companies I worked for. And I was just like, hey, I got this idea. Can you help me like think of a brand? And when I got back, she was one of the reasons that was just like, yeah, let's do this in person. So
yeah.
that was the pull.
That's interesting. No, I love that vision of doing that, and meditating beneath a waterfall or behind a waterfall. It's just that's incredible. It reminds, and it's interesting that those happen during water, right?
Yes.
Um, it's very synchronous to have those two things together. I think it was Kung Fu Panda, where the wise old sage said, mind like water. Right?
Oh,
And the whole idea behind that is if your mind is too rigid, you're not going to allow it to flex and move with the way it has to go. Whereas water takes on the shape of wherever it is for the purpose of continuing to flow. And I think not enough people utilize a mind like water when they are trying to design their business. They think that they have to have it, they design it this way, and that's the way it's going to go.
yes.
Talk to me then about once you got back, how much of those original Malaysian writings actually took shape and have you carried through with?
Yeah. I would say for the first couple of years, the flow was still there. It was there for quite a
Okay.
while, right? Um, Over time, the rigidness started to sink in because you get so focused in building a scalable business. It has to be this way and consider this,
Sure.
that, and and so while. It still stayed very listening to my intuition, listening to um, everything. Communication and relationships is just what really ignited this business. And I think when COVID happened is really when it like knocked me back down, and I got so worried. And so you described it so well, of just like I felt like I had to pull everything back in and hold on to what I had,
Yeah.
and that it did not serve me. You know, I thankfully am back to the flow now, and letting the right people in at the right times and not forcing things. But it took a while to, you know, we've been in business for 10 years now. So it's been a ride.
Yeah. So have you been back to Asia? Have you said, you know what, I need to free myself again and run back for a couple more months because I'm getting too rigid. I need to go back to the water.
Too. I, I mean, if we think back in time, I mean, so 2016, 2017 is when, you know, the
Hmm.
business was really kicking off. I mean, I started it in San Francisco. So we were getting in with the young at that time, you know, start your or not TikToks, but like the Twitters and the even LinkedIn's and Facebooks, they were all like right there, and we were getting in with them. And so I was really just trying to grow the business. Then 2019, I got married, and we started trying to build a family.
Yep.
Didn't quite go as well as we had hoped, and then COVID hit. So so no, I haven't been back, and now I have two young babies. So the plan will probably be wait. What I do things different now. How about that?
Yeah. Well, and you know, it's interesting because you had the luxury of taking 3 months going over and getting away from everything. But this is where these corporate retreats and that kind of people talk about mastermind retreats, corporate retreats and whatnot. The whole idea is get me out of the day to day, give me enough time so that I can let go of everything, free my mind a little bit, have a day or two to reflect, re-energize, meditate, do all those things, bring myself back up, and then bring myself back into a new version of myself going forward. And people don't have the luxury to run overseas, so we do it here, right? We find a waterfall in the middle of the Rockies somewhere or the Appalachians and go run underneath that waterfall instead.
Yeah.
Something that gets you out of the day to day.
Yeah. And Russ, if I might, I realized even this weekend. So quick example, we have a little jacuzzi in our backyard, and I have a 2 year old, a 4 year old, and my 2 year old, he saw water dripping out of one of the little faucet things in the hot tub, and he
Yeah.
goes water, and my other 4 year old's like waterfall, and it brought me back. So sometimes it's just, you don't have to even go anywhere. It could just be
Yeah.
watching the faucet drip. I don't know, but it's where we take our mind and what we can do. Our mind is so powerful when we can really just take the time to do it. I think the biggest blocker as human beings, we just don't want to, right? And it's hard when you just don't want to do a thing. No one else can get you out of that. You have to wait till you're ready to do a thing, and you ready for that change.
Well, and this is where, unfortunately, tragedies and pandemics and that kind of stuff uh, jump into our life to force us to pause and
Yes.
take a reassessment. It's why so many people will start businesses, will end businesses, will do it all after something like, you know, the tragedy with your brother or that kind of stuff, because the thing that happens is we start to reassess,
Yeah.
right? You know,
Yeah.
so many people coming out of COVID said, I've gotta go start my own business.
Yeah.
Why? Couple of reasons. Yes, certainly there are a number of them that their previous employers wanted them to come back to the office. I don't want to go back to the office. I'm not comfortable doing so. I want to stay home. What am I going to do? Well, maybe I'll start my own business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but there's a large portion of them that said, you know what? I'm not living the legacy that I want. I'm not building the legacy that I want for my kids in the future. I want to do something different, something that's more meaningful to me, because I just saw a friend of mine pass away at whatever age from a pandemic that didn't exist a few months ago. Uh, and he's gone now. Shoot, nothing's guaranteed. I need to reassess and build a better life for myself. And that came out of the pandemic. It goes to this unscripted idea that no matter how much we think that things are going to go the way we planned, they don't. So give me the 30 seconds on FitPros, what it was before COVID, and what FitPros is coming out of COVID.
You got it. 30 seconds. Prior to COVID, we were an on-site well-being service provider, meaning we would bring in speakers and teachers to do these services on site. COVID hit. We had to get incredibly creative. I cried for a little bit, came out of that, and we brainstormed as a team, and we said, hey, we could take investor money and build an app and go that path. We could listen to our customers, and our customers are saying they really want to send something home to their employees. So we could take that path. And so that's what we did. We took the path of care packages right after COVID. And so we were pairing virtual services. So fitness classes, we would send a care package with stretch bands and a sweat towel and, different things like that. Partnered with a 3PL, did the whole thing. It was a second business. It was wild.
Sure. And
it was phenomenal for a while. And we had 4 different packages, a mental health one, a fitness one, a finance one, and something else. art creative one. And so
that's
it was
terrific.
Yeah, it worked out super well. We're different today, even though.
Okay. And we'll get to where you are today. But you made a conscious decision in the middle of that. And I want to get to this because, as you and I alluded to in our introduction, it may be different than some of the choices that other people made. So talk to me about the conscious decision of, we're not going to go down the route of bringing in investors. We want to do this ourselves, and we're going to do whatever we can within the realm of what we can bootstrap ourselves.
Yeah. So I'll start with also my life partner, my husband, did take the path of venture capital, and he had a very successful business that was later purchased. And so I had the honor of watching him through that ride, even before we were married, coming home from those pitches and just how beat up he was. Oh gosh, he'd go to multiple per day and just so miserable. And they were just not nice.
Yeah.
And I'm an incredibly empathetic person. And so it was very hard to watch him go through that. So, but I learned a lot. And so I decided as a team, even, I really leaned on my team and with my husband's input, we could do it ourselves. We were profitable within 6 months. We didn't have to go that path. Yes, 100%. Could we have scaled faster? Could I have hired many people, half of them been a flop and it not been a big deal? Yeah. So we had to make very intentional choices by not going the VC path. It's great for some people, but I wanted to have more control.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think one of the things when it comes to investors is speed is definitely a piece of it, right? They want to get to the point of getting their money back faster. And quite honestly, because they're investors and they've seen some of the things they have, a lot of times they know that you could probably get there faster if there was a little bit of fuel added to the fire. And they are happy to add that fuel because they see the potential. They believe in you. Sometimes they believe in us more than we believe in ourselves, which is why they say, no, you are capable of doing this. We can get to 2 or 3 locations instead of just 1, et cetera. The tough part about that is some people are perfectly happy with growing at a steady pace, right? We don't all want to build $100 million business in 3 years because a lot of times people don't like the headaches and some of the people issues that come along with building a $100 million business. So I'm happy to build one that's 1, 10, 20, 50 million over the next 1, 2, 5, 10 years, et cetera. All right. So I think from an investor money standpoint, it's very much a contra thought, but I like the story of going down that route or not going down that route in your case.
Yeah.
How has the product mix changed? You said it's even different today than what it was, but care packages were great. COVID, they served a purpose,
Yeah,
but then the product mix changes again as people are able to get back out.
that's
Talk to
correct.
me about how that evolves from a business, from a product and having
Yeah.
to sell it differently and having a different team in place.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say we kept care packages for about a year and a half. So
Okay.
2020 into 2021, almost 2022, and then realized that people were not wanting them as much, that they're going back on site, their budgets were getting reallocated to different benefits that served global like hybrid populations. And so I also I want to make sure I mention this too is we had the opportunity to watch one of our biggest competitors at the time, who was initially a fitness app, a
Okay.
trainer to trainer app. They then evolved more into workplace because if I'm watching them the whole time, COVID hit, they got funding. And we're like, oh, okay. So we sat back and we watched. We were just being patient because again, we move very quick, very swiftly, rather than being caught in red tape. But so we're watching the competitor get their funding and they changed their business name. They changed their model. They're no longer in business. Let's let them just skip to the chase.
Yeah.
And they were our biggest competitor, you know, 10 years ago. Um, and so I'm really glad that I had that opportunity to watch what they went through as well. So back to FitPros, yeah, we kept our care packages until the market was changing, and then realized it was such a different business. We like having to manage 3PLs that couldn't
Hmm.
promise if you're going to put snacks in your box because we wanted to put healthy snacks in the box. They couldn't
Right.
promise that they were going to watch the expiration dates. We're like,
Oh,
what?
geez.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
yeah. So we had an incident where they shipped out expired snacks, and right. So we're like, this is a business that it's not scalable. So skip back to we went back to our nitty gritty services, but
Yeah.
now that companies were going back on site, we could pull back what we were so good at nationally at this point. So pre-COVID, we were already coast to coast doing services for corporations in their offices. So we were able to pull back our on-site pros that were around the country, and then now we got so good at doing the virtual that we had both. So our services then became on-site and virtual for corporations all over the United States. And then we were able to expand globally. So we got into 30 countries on site. So it's I guess skip ahead again. We decided to pull back on the global on-site. So we still service virtually in multiple languages.
Sure.
Pull back on the on-site globally just to really to invest in our SaaS platform. So today, just 2 years ago, now we did launch our SaaS platform without any
Yeah.
VC funding. So again, going completely off of relationships that built our app, and then and being profitable. So didn't have to take funding.
I think it's interesting because you're talking about the evolution of product mix, and that was the question, right?
Yeah.
Um, what I didn't hear in there was any evolution of your ideal client and the ideal client profile. Did you, or is it the same person or same client
Yeah.
that you've been serving all along?
Yep, great question. Same client all along. So we are B2B, right? Everything we do not sell to consumers whatsoever. And so we've always sold to the HR decision maker, the
Yep.
benefits teams within corporations. Typically, it's corporations, minimum 50 employees. Our sweet spot is around 250 to 2,000 employees, but we have clients
Yep.
that are 10,000 and 50,000, right? So our core client has never really changed. Um, our relationships have, however, in that we've always partnered with brokerage groups. So benefit brokerage groups, the medical providers have always been a core. We've
Hmm.
gotten deeper in with the carriers themselves. So the Blues, the Anthems, the Kaisers, and those.
Sure.
So to answer your question as directly as I can, no, it hasn't really changed.
Well, and I think that's an important lesson. It was a bit of a leading question because I kind of thought I knew where that was going to go.
Yeah.
Um, because that's an important lesson for anybody that wants to succeed in any space, right? Regardless of where you are, is I always tell my clients, I want you to know who that ideal customer is first. Then we go to their needs and then we build a product for that. Too
Yes.
many try to design a product or some sort of value proposition that doesn't exist and then say, okay, who wants to buy this? And then they wake up years later and can't stand their clients and customers. So
Yes.
here you've got somebody who you're focused on the client and customer and ideally keep track of their needs, how those needs changed in COVID, how they changed coming out of COVID, how they're going, and and adapt your product mix to that instead.
Correct. The question we always ask ourselves whenever there's a new opportunity coming up or a thing is, what problem are we trying to solve?
Yeah.
Plain and simple, what problem are we trying to solve with whatever solution comes out of this? What's the problem? Even when I started the business, I love the Simon Sinek, the why, what the power of
Yep.
why, or the, the big
Golden
circle.
circle.
Yes, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. And I just always go back to that of like, you got to get right to the nugget of what's the point of the thing. And we went into care packages because our clients were saying, our employees are home. They're done watching TV. They want to play puzzles with their kids. And so we branded Mario puzzles and shipped those in the care packages with the art
Mm.
box. So and we came up with, and then we would pair painting sets with virtual painting classes. And so truly it came from listening and surveying, and we did not make decisions. We just didn't have the proof that adding another platform at the time would be a logical place for us to pivot our business then.
Right.
We've since, I mean, the market today is so different, saying we are craving human interaction. We're craving, I want to be able to ask a coach in real time, why is magnesium good for my body? So we have cooking classes virtually where anybody around the world can tune in to this coach and ask them a question and listen. They're listening to a workshop, right?
Right.
Everything's live. And so you get the on demand, sure, that's been around forever. So we give the recordings, no big deal. But our core platform today has evolved in such a way that we want to make such a meaningful difference to people. That is, yeah, it's what's the client going through and what's the market going through.
No, I love every bit of that because I think if you go back to where you were pick a year, 2017, or even on your Asia trip, right? Where you are looking at building this business plan out. Even at that time, if you would have said the same ICP of what you have today is what you had then,
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't have put Mario puzzles in the middle of that.
Right.
Right. But the needs of that ICP changed so drastically during a short period of time
Yes.
that you had to adapt. And obviously, you're not alone. We've heard all the different stories. We heard about the breweries that became hand sanitizer factories and all of that kind of stuff. So we listen to the needs of our ICP, and you create a stronger bond and relationship in doing so by adjusting to their needs over time.
Yep.
So where's it going next? What do you see out of your ICP as to what's evolving next for this office slash business slash work at home fitness space?
Yeah. Again, another beautiful part of not having to follow the guidelines of a board of directors or venture capital
Mm-hmm.
is getting to very closely analyze what's happening. And what's happening right now, hopefully my competitors aren't listening, or they know it on their own, but
Yeah.
is that a lot of our clients and the employees are fearing AI, or they're fearing what's the unknowns that are happening. And so we are getting ahead of the game, and AI has been incorporated in our platform for 2 years now. But we're getting more thoughtful on how to have hands-on workshops for the employees to
Yeah.
understand how to use AI, not fear it, right? So, and we did this back to COVID when, and nobody knew what was happening with COVID. We were the
Yeah.
first in our space to have doctors come on a workshop and say, I mean, this was in April of 2020. We had physicians come on and do workshops in front of thousands of employees saying, Here's what we know today. We
Yep.
had so many corporate clients, and this is again why that was our most profitable year. So many corporate clients say, I want to do this once a month. I want our employees to have a focused session where we can hear from a physician. Well, now your employees are fearing AI. They're fearing their jobs. How about let's show them how they can embrace what's to come and what's next? What's beyond the AI, certainly not just ChatGPT. What else is there, right? But a lot of people are just like, oh, that's all I know. So that's where we're at.
I love it. So let's take it back. Let's go back before Asia. Let's go to the young Lindsay that's starting out many years before that.
Okay.
What are those top handful of lessons that you've learned about business along the way that you'd love to share with the next generation?
Mm-hmm. Um, let's see what comes up for me today. um, Handful of lessons. I think stay true to you, because I, through this 10 years, got rigid. And, after COVID, after we were back on site and virtual, just before we started our SaaS platform and a little into that, I was in such a place where I was like, okay, we got to scale the team. We've got to have this many people on our sales team. We've got to da, 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 da. And it just became less about relationships and watching the business mindfully and the products and listening to clients. And so I just got lost on the intuition. I got lost in, so I would say that's my number one thing is
Okay.
go back, focus, watch your faucet drip and whatever brings you back to comfort and peace, and listen to intuition. That's number one. Hmm. Give me something.
You're
um,
good.
okay. Yeah. I
It's a
think
tough
that
question, isn't it?
it really is, because there's been so many lessons, so much that I'm grateful for. Even though, I mean, you asked me even a year and a half ago, I was having anxiety. Panic attacks. I just knew we were in a place that didn't feel right. We had an event. I flew all my employees out to San Diego, spent $50,000 on this like couple day retreat of getting everybody
Yeah.
together. We're there, and I'm like, something's off. Something, like, the people in the room right now don't trust each other, or they don't trust me,
Mm.
or there's something, they're not trusting the product. Like, something just isn't right. And so I'm a firm believer in extreme ownership, right? I take
Yeah.
full responsibility of, I was distracted. I became a mom to twice over, so I was not present for my family, or excuse me, my family as well, because I was so torn
Yes.
between building the business and my family that it's hard to, I will say, as a female founder, it's also difficult to give yourself to one thing. So I also had to, make a hard decision and lay off half the company over this past year. And it's been incredibly tough, and because so many amazing people that we worked with, but we weren't on the same page with where the company path needed to go. So today I'm reconnected. I'm more in the flow, and I'm going to pick my kids up early from school, because, it's people that are on the team today are more in tune to the mission and focus on what the next right thing is, because I'm connected to what the next right thing is. So it's a roller coaster.
No, and I can't say it any better than that. I mean, that was going to be the follow up if you didn't get there. Is why are they better connected today? And it's because you are more connected, because you've created a clarity in them and in yourself as to where you need to go. There are times we get so busy in the day to day, we get busy in the business of doing things, of serving clients, of doing more, of serving more, of being more places, of building more ideas, of trying to keep up with competitors or trying not to let others catch us. And in doing so, we lose track of that intent, right? When you're small, when you're tiny, every hire is so impactful, is so sometimes painful for the organization that we are very careful about doling out those salary dollars to somebody new. Over time, we justify that as, well, we got this new product. The only way we can do it is by hiring people for it. Or we're going to go into this new part of the country. The only way we can do that is to get more salespeople out here to do it and see us start hiring. And we've got the cash to do so, so it doesn't have the same global impact on the organization as what it does when there's 2 or 3 of you. And so you start to get bloated.
Yes.
Right. And there's times when, and for you, it was bringing everybody together in one place and realizing half of them or some portion of them either were disconnected from the mission or just didn't care about the mission or misunderstood the mission, and recognizing the Jocko Willink call out of extreme ownership, right? Recognizing that you needed to have that at the top of an organization, and that it starts with you, and that you have to be better about giving the mission. And then, unfortunately, because there had been flaws in that in the past, we had to trim back to what was most important for us going forward. You don't seem like you're in that place right now. You seem emotionally like you're in a much better place than you must have been a year ago.
I am. It bothers me that there's, some of the employees that I've had to let go, like, just still don't understand why. And they're amazing people that I would vouch for today. So that sits icky with me. But in such a better place because, yeah, I just got off with my lead salesperson and she's like, yeah, I'm working on this and this and this. A year ago, she was also distracted because of the people on the team were telling her mixed things. And so now we're in such a vibe. She's like, oh yeah, I'm going to send out this sequence to these brokers. I'm like, yeah, girl, go get it. Right. And I could just sit back and be her cheerleader rather than her having to worry about noise that wasn't valuable. And so we're just all in a much more positive space.
Clarity of a shared vision and goals.
Yeah, I agree.
I love it. Well, Lindsay, it's been a pleasure. Is there anything I haven't asked you about that you want to get out to our users? Obviously, we'll get some contact information for FitPros into the show notes. But what have I not asked about that you want to throw out there?
Nothing. I mean, I think to all of your listeners, I'm an open book. Follow me on LinkedIn because I love collaborations and partnerships and just building the world to be a better place and help other people. So if you're building a brand and you want to brainstorm, like I'm here for it. So let's follow each other on LinkedIn.
I like that. Well, thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Take care.
You too. So that's a wrap for this episode of Legacy Unscripted. If today's conversation sparks something in you, don't just let it sit. Take action today to build your future. Make sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share this with someone who may need to hear it. And if you've got a story to share or you just want to connect, you know where to find me. Until next time, keep it real, keep it bold, and keep living your legacy.